Alright, so Elon Musk, the wealthiest man on the face of the planet, has officially taken control of Twitter. So we've been covering this over like the last couple of months when he first started flirting with the idea of him buying out Twitter, and now we're in the position where he has officially taken control, and there is so much to talk about in regards to him being the owner of Twitter that I'm not even going to try to pack everything into one video. I'm sure that we are going to be talking about this for the next like weeks and months on end as he continues to make adjustments to the platform in whatever mold he sees fit. But first of all, I think you guys got to understand that, at least in my opinion, I don't think that Elon Musk even really wanted to actually buy Twitter. I mean, he was kind of using this out and this excuse that like, okay, Twitter is lying about the number of bots on their platform, which, okay, maybe they were, but like, you know, he was basically using that as an excuse, in my opinion, to get out of the deal. And then he was basically put in a situation where they were going to have to go to court over this. And as a process of those court proceedings, a lot of private information and stuff about Elon Musk was probably going to get out to the public that he didn't really want to get out, and so he basically had to fold and end up following through on this deal to acquire Twitter for something like, I don't know, $44 billion or something, which is, number one, completely overvalued, and number two, is going to have, you know, significant financial consequences for him down the line. So in and of itself, I think that this is absolutely hilarious that he has followed through on this, because he has essentially painted himself into a corner where he is not going to make anybody happy, right? This is a guy who basically portrays himself as a free speech absolutist, and so he's gotten a lot of support from conservatives and libertarians, etc. And he's simultaneously having to balance this claim that he is a free speech absolutist type of guy, and that's how he's going to be running this platform, while also simultaneously having to balance the fact that he, a capitalist, a billionaire, the richest man on the planet, wants to make money from Twitter, and in order to make money from Twitter, you have to have advertisers, and in order to have advertisers, you can't just let the platform turn into like a Nazi hellscape or a white supremacist breeding ground where anybody can literally just say whatever they want with no terms of service whatsoever. So he's having to balance those two things, and it's just not going to end well with him no matter what the outcome is. So I think that that's absolutely fucking hilarious. Either he's going to piss off or scare away the advertisers, and then Twitter is going to implode financially, or he's going to backtrack on his claims of being a free speech absolutist, which, let's be honest, nobody really is. And in the context of these social media platforms, right, I obviously don't believe in like censoring people for their political opinions or anything like that, and I think that sometimes these platforms go overboard with their censorship and with their algorithms, especially on YouTube. I experienced this firsthand, where they prioritize the mainstream networks like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, etc. There's definitely a lot of problems with these algorithms, with the way that they go about censoring things, but at the same time, you can't just let it be a complete and total free-for-all, because then all of those advertisers are going to flee. So either he's going to implode Twitter financially, or he's going to piss off all of the conservatives who have latched onto him as this free speech absolutist, and either way, that's going to be pretty entertaining to watch. So we're going to start off here with just some of what has actually happened since he's taken over as the new CEO. So basically the first thing that he did was he fired a bunch of the top Twitter executives, including the CEO, Parag Agrawal, for cause, in a bid to avoid paying out tens of millions of dollars in severance. So kind of just screwing over a lot of these Twitter executives. Now, number one, I don't really give a shit about them. I mean, they were already making millions and millions of dollars. You know, whether or not they get these severance paid, I don't really care. You know, there's probably going to be legal challenges to that, but this was basically the first step that he did. He's slashing a lot of the top staff positions at Twitter, and now he basically is trying to appoint himself as the sole decision maker. He says he's going to be putting together some sort of like a board that has, as he put it, a diverse range of opinions, and they're going to get to sort of like dictate the direction that they're going to go in terms of like content moderation and all of that. Now, another thing that you have to understand about his claim of being a free speech absolutist is that the first thing that he put out when he took control of Twitter was literally a direct appeal to the advertisers. He posted on Twitter, he said, "Dear advertisers," and then basically posted a couple paragraphs where he was saying like, okay, it's not going to be a completely free speech platform. We are going to have to keep the advertisers in mind, etc. Basically him just trying to tamp down a lot of the fear from those advertisers in response to him claiming that he's going to have like a free speech absolutist platform, right? So I don't think he's actually going to go in that direction, but nonetheless, it is still going to be hilarious to see the fallout no matter which way that this goes. Now, in terms of like the free speech absolutism, clearly, according to the statistics we have here from Yahoo News, people were really trying to test that theory and whether or not Elon Musk would stand by his word. So they say here from Yahoo News, the use of the N-word on Twitter jumped by 500% after Elon Musk's takeover as trolls test the limit on free speech. So There you go. I mean, this is the inevitable outcome when people think that the platform is just going to turn into a complete free for all. This is the type of shit that is going to happen. I mean, you look at all of these other examples of a lot of these, especially conservative platforms that have been started, like Gab and Truth Social is another one, and all of these ones that initially claim to be complete free speech platforms. Either they follow through on being complete free speech platforms, and then they're just completely unappealing to any advertisers and really unappealing to like a broad range of the public, because nobody wants to just go use a social media platform where you post something and then you're getting like 80 people below your replies posting pictures of Hitler and saying the N-word and stuff like that. Nobody really wants to use a platform like that, first of all. But I mean, in addition to that, you look at all of these other platforms that have actually tried that approach, and they usually just completely fail in terms of like reaching the same audience that a platform like Twitter actually has. So I mean, this is just one result that we got in the immediate aftermath of this. Now, another part of this, which again ties into the finances of Twitter, that are kind of just going to be screwing Elon Musk over no matter what, is this from this New York Times article that was posted here by Jason Schreider. He says, last year, Twitter's interest expense was about $50 million. With the new debt taken on in the deal, that will now balloon to about $1 billion a year, yet the company's operations last year generated only $630 million in cash flow to meet its financial obligations. That means that Twitter is generating less money per year than what it owes to its lenders. The company also does not appear to have a lot of cash on hand. While it had about $6 billion in cash before his buyout, a large portion of that probably went into the cost of closing the acquisition. They say that gives Mr. Musk little wiggle room. Mr. Pascarella said they are essentially going to take all the financial resources of the company and just pour it into servicing debt. So again, I mean, not only is he going to be running into trouble in terms of like how he wants to approach content moderation while simultaneously not trying to piss off the conservatives who love him and also not trying to piss off the advertisers, but then he's also just kind of getting fucked on the back end of this because he took a horrible deal for this company that just ballooned their debt payments, and now they don't even have enough cash flow to keep up with what they owe to the lenders. So obviously, Elon Musk is turning around and desperately trying to figure out ways in order to make Twitter able to generate more profits. And so one of the things that he has floated over the last couple of days was basically making this little blue check mark, which is like a verified user on Twitter, making that cost a monthly charge for people who have the check mark, right? So initially he claimed he wanted it to be $20 a month. $20 a month. I mean, that's more than like a fucking Hulu subscription, right? $20 a month to just get a little blue check mark on Twitter. I mean, this is something that like even wealthy people, like as Stephen King was pointing out here, are not going to be wanting to do. I mean, who the fuck would pay $20 a month for Twitter to just have a little blue check mark by their name? But I guess this is what he was going with in terms of a strategy. But you got a statement here from Stephen King. He says, $20 a month to keep my blue check. Fuck that. They should pay me. If that gets instituted, I'm gone like Enron. Okay, so he's saying he's not going to do it. Tons of other people were saying they weren't going to be putting up with this. But just to give you a perspective in terms of like, so many people in this country, a lot of conservatives especially, think that Elon Musk is like this 5D chess god where he's planning so many steps ahead and he knows exactly what he's doing and he's going to trigger the libs. He's going to be, instituting this amazing free speech platform, right? This guy doesn't even know what the fuck he's doing at all, okay? Because you get one tweet here saying $20 a month is too much after he initially proposed that amount, and he just like replies and he's like, we need to pay the bills somehow. Twitter cannot rely entirely on advertisers. How about $8? So he's just like kind of like wheeling and dealing in replies on Twitter and seeing how much people would be willing to pay for these blue check marks. I mean, like, this is not the type of thing that somebody who knows what the fuck they're doing is posting about on Twitter. Okay, clearly this guy is completely out of his league. He doesn't know what he's really supposed to be doing in this type of situation. Now, on top of that, an $8 per month charge for verified user badges, if you just like added up the total amount that would actually generate in terms of revenue or profits for Twitter, it's like nothing, especially compared to the ad revenue, right? And keep in mind, Twitter doesn't even bring in a tiny fraction of the total amount of profits or revenue, even from the advertisers, as other platforms like Facebook and Instagram and Google and all these other tech platforms, right? They don't even bring in a tiny fraction of that. And this checkmark idea would only be like a tiny fraction, like 1% or less of the overall revenue relative to what the ads are actually bringing in. So it's like, this isn't, number one, even going to be a good idea that most people are going to get on board with, but number two, it's not even going to generate enough money to really make a difference in terms of how much money you're bringing in and how much you're able to pay to the lenders. So he had a follow-up statement to this just recently. He posted this. He says, Twitter's current lords and peasants system for who has or doesn't have a blue checkmark is bullshit. Okay, that's kind of true to some extent. He says, power to the people, blue for $8 a month. And I mean, I responded down here to him because like the basic follow-up to question is like, if you want to somewhat democratize this platform, number one, maybe it shouldn't be in the hands of, something that he himself refers to as the public town square. Maybe the public town square shouldn't be in the hands of a single oligarch, the wealthiest man on the planet, if you wanted to actually go about democratizing these platforms. But on top of that, if you want to talk about democratizing the platforms and removing this sort of like lords and peasants hierarchical system for getting a blue checkmark, how the fuck does adding a monetary charge to get the check mark, how does that democratize it? How does that make it more available to the overall population if people are having to pay $8 a month just to keep that blue check mark? I mean, it's just like his ideas, he's just shooting shit in the dark. Like he has no fucking idea where he's actually going to end up going with this. So one more thing I want to touch on just in this video, and again, I'm barely scratching the surface in terms of like what we could talk about with Elon Musk owning this platform and all of the associated problems and like hilarious outcomes that are going to come from that. But this is another important one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. So apparently now, because Saudi Arabia had investments in Twitter even before Elon Musk took over the company, they basically decided not to sell their shares in Twitter when he did that buyout. And so now we're in a situation where the Saudis, okay, as pointed out here by Southpaw, represented by Prince Al Walid, announced that they are now the second largest owner of Twitter, following the Musk buyout. Okay, Saudi Arabia, the incredibly brutal theocratic dictatorship of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, a guy who frequently likes to chop up journalists and do a genocide in Yemen, this guy is now the second largest owner of Twitter, okay, a social media platform that Elon Musk refers to as the public town square, which is a label that I would agree with, right? I mean, this is shit that is going to backfire on him, and there's already been statements from Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut, saying that they're going to need to do a fucking investigation on this. Obviously, if your second largest shareholder is a dictatorial regime that is like actively hostile to the United States, yeah, maybe we should do a little bit of an investigation into that. So, I mean, there's just so many different things that we could talk about in terms of how this is going to be an absolute disaster. But Elon Musk, again, I don't even think that he really wanted to end up as the CEO of Twitter. I think he was kind of doing it as like a publicity stunt, trying to boost his ego and stuff like that. I don't think that he actually believed it would be followed through on at the end of the day, and now he got himself into a shitty legal situation, got himself into a horrible deal, completely overvalued the company, and is basically in a situation now where he's going to have to balance the interests of the advertisers with the interests of his like rabid base of supporters who think that he's perfect, who think that he actually believes in free speech absolutism. He's going to have to balance that. Inevitably, he's going to end up either pissing off one or the other, or pissing off both of them. And then on top of that, he has all of these financial problems that he's going to have to deal with. He has no actual coherent policy framework for how he's going to about fixing that and fixing Twitter's finances, which only got more fucked up because of the buyout that he just did. And then on top of that, now he's going to be facing a bunch of investigations, not only for that Saudi Arabia ownership stake, but also because we're talking about Elon Musk. Okay, Elon Musk is not just the CEO of Twitter now. Elon Musk has investments or has company stakes in Tesla, in SpaceX, companies that have investments and have, production in other countries, right? Countries like China, countries all over the fucking world that have their own specific geopolitical interests and have their own specific set of free speech laws or laws in regards to speech. So like there are so many different things that he's going to have to be balancing. And honestly, I mean, he's probably going to implode the platform, given what we've seen, the erratic nature of how this has been developing. He's probably going to implode the platform. That kind of sucks. Twitter is something where I basically, initially built my platform off of. So I do like Twitter. I think it's, one of the worst places on the internet, but at the same time, it's great because you get to see all of these things in real time. But, Elon Musk has put himself in a situation where inevitably this is going to implode and, shoot back up in his face one way or the other, whichever direction that he decides to go. And that honestly is just going to be absolutely hilarious to watch.
Everyone is saying good Politic guy has the best Politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying